Hello everyone, welcome to this edition of the news on Equinoxe Television, live from our headquarters in Cameroon's economic capital, Douala. I am Bable Jonathan. In our top stories in this edition of the news, some political leaders have joined their voices to that of the Social Democratic Front and some international institutions to call for a return to federalism in the Republic of Cameroon as the only way out of the socio-political and security tensions in the Republic of Cameroon, notably in the northwest and southwest regions of the country. They were speaking during a meeting of political, civil society, religious and traditional leaders convened by Jean-Jacques Ekindi, president of the Progressive Movement Political Party here in the economic capital, Douala. And also in this newscast, we'll talk about the situation of a journalist of CM Television in the southwest regional chief town, Poacher, who has been in detention for several days. Journalists are pressing for his immediate and unconditional release. Stay with us. Thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us in this edition of the news on Equinoxe Television. We're going to begin this newscast in the Fumban in the west region of the country. It is one of the localities badly affected by the problem of bad roads in the Republic of Cameroon. Several roads running across that part of the locality of the west region are in an advanced state of dilapidation, and movement has become more or less a nightmare.
This is exactly what they face. Persons plying the Fumbot-Masangang stretch of road.
Fumbot-Masangang be very bad, but government...
She decries the situation while pleading on the government to handle it.
For them for come fix Fumbot, go reach for Masangang. Meet the people for there, the worker fine. How is some other people that the worker, they're not even local.
To get to the village now, we use just bikes. The sea distances which the formerly covered in a short period of time leaves travelers take longer hours today. From Fumbot to Maha, it's 26 kilometers. To cross, we take 1 day. The noon should also be taken into consideration. Bikes can't circulate. What about vehicles? Solution should be gotten. Fumban, situated in the west region of the country with rich soils, the people see a variety of its products are being supplied to consumers in the nation's economic metropolis, and with the bad roads, they have been facing tough times, paving their way through the stretch.
Par rapport aux difficultés que nous avons par rapport au découlement de nos produits pour la ville,
we face difficulties to transport our farm produce. We call on the government and the Fumbot Council to resolve the situation.
La commune de Fumbot en particulier.
Visible RCDs. The dusty roads at the dry season get muddy once it rains, and having no other way out, the travelers are obliged to battle with the roads, even if it means soiling themselves with the natural clay paint.
C'est depuis 5h30 qu'on est ici. Regarde, le camion s'y a fait 3 jours ici là, à cause de l'état de la route.
It's tough indeed. Even traders along the stretch complain of the situation. We can't sell now. Without routes, it's impossible. Meanwhile, formerly, we sold when the situation wasn't this way. Blaming it all on the Fumban Council, who they see hasn't been effective in ensuring the realization of a road project on the stretch, they as well tabled their situation to the right quarters of the Cameroonian government, a government which has served in the past to target emergence by 2035.
Still on the road, it remains more or less a nightmare. Very difficult one to travel into and out of Cameroon's economic capital, Douala, as a result of the heavy traffic jam at the east entrance and exit of the town of Douala. And this is because of the rehabilitation works going on the Bondis and Tradex Yasa stretch of road, and also the Nyala stretch of road. And there has been a serious traffic jam, compelling travelers to spend several hours on the same spot, sometimes running across over 3 hours to get out of the town of Douala. And the situation has had a terrible impact on the economic activities and of course transport activities in that part. And the Minister of Public Works, Emmanuel Ganunjumisi, was there yesterday to take stock of the situation. And there is a serious problem highlighted by the minister with regards to the company executing that contract, and we'll be coming back to that in the course of this newscast. In the meantime, we'll go over to the northwest region of Cameroon to talk about Nigerian nationals who are living there. They are also suffering the devastating and deadly consequences of the Anglophone crisis that has been pulling on for close to 3 years. Today, many of them have been cautioned. They have been cautioned to respect the laws of the land in order to avoid any trouble with either the military or the administration. And of course, they were cautioned by some of their leaders. Stella reports from Bamenda.
The Nigerian Union in Bamenda has a new president. Prince Otobong was installed alongside other members of his executive by the Honorable Ibrahim Mohamed Bashir, Consul General of Nigeria to Cameroon. During the ceremony at the Bamenda Congress Hall, the president-elect says the insecurity due to the crisis rocking the two English-speaking regions of Cameroon and what he terms illegal extortion at checkpoints, especially along the Mount-Equinox stretch of road, are their greatest miseries.
Nigerians are experiencing a lot of intimidation and illegal extortion of money from my 19-mounted above road by some overzealous and unscrupulous law enforcement agents. Even when their government are up to date, we plead to you, Your Excellency, to use your good office to come to our rescue. We also sympathize with our host country for the security challenges this country is facing, and hope that through the blessing of God and diplomatic efforts, peace will be restored sooner than later.
In response, the Consul General cautions.
I always keep in touch with them to advise them to be law-abiding, to know where and when to go to. And so far, I give glory to the Almighty God. In any society, we find out that there are some overzealous ones, there are some bad eggs. So the only way we could do that is to bring it to the authorities and engage them. If it is issue that borders with immigration or the police or whatever, we engage the higher authorities, we talk, and they will be able to tell their officers or their men in the field. Because, you know, some of these things doesn't have the approval of the hierarchy.
The 28-man executive headed by Prince Otobong is expected in the next 4 years to work in line with the democratic principles of the Federal Republic of Nigeria while encouraging the respect of the laws of their host country, Cameroon, and preserve the unity among the about 1,000 Nigerians living in Bamenda with their host communities. In their typical outfits, the Nigerians celebrated their cultural diversity to the admiration of authorities present. Prior to the installation, Honorable Ibrahim Mohamed Bashir paid a courtesy visit to Governor Adolphe Lele Lafrique.
And I told you earlier that the situation at the east entrance into Cameroon's economic capital, Douala, remains disturbing as a result of the heavy traffic jam provoked by the rehabilitation works going on the Bon-Dis-Tradex-Yassa stretch of road and also on the Nyala stretch of road. And the Minister of Public Works was there yesterday, and he highlighted some serious problems linked to the incompetence of the company executing the rehabilitation works. EQUINOXE has more.
Cameroon Minister of Public Works, arrived the east entrance into Douala to inspect construction and rehabilitation works on the Yassa stretch of roads linking Douala and Yaoundé. His visit follows agitations made by road users for weeks now due to heavy congestion caused by delayed works. In front of the contractors in charge with the road construction and rehabilitation, the minister questioned the system of work adopted by the enterprise this rainy season.
Est-ce que vous devez faire les terrassements en saison de pluie?
The reply proved it was the best.
Les travaux de terrassement, c'est-à-dire déblat et remblai, on l'a pas fait. Ici, c'est la deuxième point. Ici, c'est une déviation.
Such system of work is rather annoying to the minister, as roads leading into the quarters have been used for deviation and consequently degraded, hindering mobility of persons and vehicles.
Voilà les gens. Comment ils font maintenant pour se déplacer?
The Public Works Authority criticized the quality of work being done and the materials used on the sick road this rainy season. He thinks the materials are not compatible with this rainy period.
Vous avez créé un petit lac derrière là, c'est de ça que le directeur parle.
J'espère que le chef de la mission de contrôle.
There exists a chief of mission for this project, but to the minister, he seems not to know his supervisory role because modalities of the state are not respected.
Non, ce n'est pas vous qui devez expliquer, monsieur. Vous devez surveiller ce qui se passe. Vous ne devez pas vous substituer à l'entreprise, monsieur, et que ça cesse. Vous êtes mission de contrôle ou vous êtes chef d'entreprise? Bon Dieu.
At all levels, the Public Works Boss and other state authorities are discontented with the works.
We are not satisfied with what we have seen. The company has mobilized itself, but the quality, the know-how are not following. Consequently, we have decided that the company should stop until we see how far we can still go with he or not. We have taken the same decision with the supervisory body.
He doubts the competence of the enterprise he met and posed embarrassing questions.
Je vais lui poser une question. Il a eu à construire les routes où déjà? Dans le monde.
The company personnel claim they have constructed and rehabilitated roads in Congo and Kenya.
Bien, c'était des réhabilitations.
Il y a des routes neuves, il y a aussi des routes de réhabilitation.
Minister Emmanuel Njomesi, in total frustration, scolded the engineers. They would have fabricated materials elsewhere and not on the project site, which has messed up everywhere and caused an alarming traffic jam on the National Road number 3.
Fabriqué ailleurs pour venir poser ici, monsieur. Vous voyez ce que ça crée?
Users of the east entry into Douala will have to endure suffering a little more until completion of an alternative path commanded.
We have identified a section of the route, 18 kilometers, to be maintained so that the senior divisional officer or the Vori division will take a prefectural order to indicate what type of vehicle will pass through there. So a decision will be taken to indicate what will be the section of the route to help.
The governor of the Littoral region has been designated the responsibility to organize meetings with the teams constructing the roads for proper orientation, or for which continues the project.
EQUINOXE reporting there on the situation at the east entrance into Cameroon's economic capital, Douala. Now we talk about the fight against illegal wildlife trafficking. An individual has been arrested here in the economic capital Douala with several elephant tusks. He was arrested by elements of the National Gendarmerie. Details in this report. 16 elephant tusks, 8 more elephants killed by poachers. 50-year-old Bunduma Benoit was caught with this bag of elephant tusk in Dokoti, in Cameroon's economic capital Douala. He was arrested by gendarme officers from the Ndogbong Gendarmerie Command.
Pendant l'exploitation, il ressort que
the suspect told the Ndogbong Gendarmerie commander, Captain Dancy Modeste, that his friend from Beto in the East region gave him the bag to go and deliver to a Chinese national.
J'ai un ami au nom de Mikonda Honoré, celui qui fait souvent la ligne de la SCA.
Captain Dancy Modeste and his colleagues are tracking down the suspect's alleged accomplice, who is still on the run. They will both face the law for illegal wildlife trafficking. Africa's elephant population is declining at alarming rates, and some species are facing extinction within 10 years. The savanna elephant population shrunk by 38%, by 30% between 2007 and 2014. The savanna elephant population dropped by 30% between 2007 and 2014. Some political leaders have added their voices to the Social Democratic Front and some international institutions to call for a return to normalcy in Cameroon as the way out of the socio-political and security crisis hitting the northwest and the southwest regions of the country for close to 3 years today. They were speaking yesterday here in Douala during a meeting that brought together political, civil society, religious and traditional authorities, convened by a former member of parliament, Honorable Jean-Jacques Kindi, president of the Progressive Movement political party. For me, Armstrong Standard reports.
They say a federal republic of Cameroon is no longer a dream, but a project, the only way out of the current impasse, which should be projected now and not tomorrow. They are political, civil society, religious and traditional rulers who have just rounded up a cogitation in Douala.
The Federal Republic of Cameroon is not a dream. It is a project within our reach. We must convince the majority of Cameroonians from east, west, south, and north that it is the way. There is a future for our beloved country. Federalists of Cameroon, time has come. Unite. Fight together for the peaceful and radiant advent of the Federal Republic of Cameroon.
With the Anglophone crisis worsening further, the actors say a Federal Republic of Cameroon in its correct composition is a messiah solution to the suffering people.
The financial management of the Federation shall ensure the viability of a federal state, of the federated states, of the divisions, and of the towns.
Some, however, express frustration that the central government, which they say has the power to stop the worsening crisis, has adopted a questionable approach.
The problems of our country being discussed in another country, lower houses, upper houses, congresses, but yet in our own country, the National Assembly, Honorable, nothing is said about it. Senate, nothing is said about it. And yet, we have our brothers and sisters who are dying since 3 years. And we sit quiet as if nothing is happening.
The call for the return to a federal system of government in Cameroon has been echoed by several international bodies and development partners to Cameroon, notably the United States of America, through the U.S. Senate.
Strong Sander reporting there, and I told you yesterday a correspondent in the town of Kumba in the Meme division, southwest region of Cameroon, Obo Linus, popularly known as Ogalai, is no more. He gave up the ghost yesterday after suffering from a prolonged prolonged illness. And of course we spoke to some journalists in the southwest region of the country, and this is what they had to say concerning Obo Linus.
Ogalai, a reporter of the Lakeside Radio and the correspondent for Equinox Television. Obo Ivo has been a very staunch reporter, especially during this period of crisis where he braved all the odds, penetrating the hinterland to report on especially the Kwakwa incident. He was the first to report on the Kwakwa incident. So we really regret missing him. I really feel it when I saw Romost, for he was one of my closest collaborators here in Kumba.
It's actually very beautiful, and I want to say that those of us in Meme who have worked with Ogalai, I for example have worked with Ogalai since 2007. Obo Ivo was his name, and we knew him as Ogalai. He had wonderful programs at the time when we were at Poacher City Radio as colleagues. Then he later moved to other media houses.
Thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for staying with us. Coming up next, Talking Point. We are receiving one of the top female politicians in the Republic of Cameroon. She's referred to as the Iron Lady of the CPP. Kabangwala Edith is the national president of the Cameroon People's Party. Madam the President, you're welcome.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. It's been a while.
All right, before we talk about the situation in the northwest and southwest regions of the country, I just want to take your reaction concerning the situation at the east entrance into the town of Douala. Serious traffic jam as a result of the what the minister, however, has qualified as the incompetence of the company carrying on rehabilitation works there.
You know, Mr. Babila, we have said at the CPP that this government is incompetent in every single area of development. Now, I was smiling as you spoke because it is unimaginable. It is unimaginable that a minister of public works would be coming to the field to discover the enterprise which is carrying out the public works which he is in charge of. The number of dysfunctionalities that indicates, because first of all, that minister is supposed to be the person guaranteeing the technical capacity of that company. Even if there's a process of public contracts,
award of public contracts by the Public Contracts Ministry.
By the Ministry of Public Contracts. He sits there when the Ministry of Public Contracts awards a contract. They don't do it by themselves. There is supposed to be a panel where they sit together. The technical ministries are there. The technical ministries concerned are there. Any other ministry that has any stake in that contract is there, and then the Ministry of Public Contracts is there to organize the process of giving a contract. They are not the ones to guarantee the technical ability of the company. So how is it that this minister did not know which company is doing it, did not have the technical competence of the ministry? If somehow things went wrong at the top, he has a regional delegate here in the littoral who should have given him that feedback long ago, that somebody is on the field and they are not able to do the work. And then on top of that, we have another group of people, which is the control mission. Every contract, every public contract is supposed to be controlled. So when we keep saying as the CPP that there is nothing more to be done with the BR regime, they are incompetent and incapable, and we just have to move to a political transition. It's not just for complex situations like Anglophone crisis, but even simple things like building a road.
All right. Another journalist is in detention. Samuel Wazizi of the CMTV media house in the southwest region of Chieftown is accused of collaborating with some separatist fighters and so on, hosting separatist fighters in his farm. These are, however, accusations which he has denied them. He says he has nothing to do with that, but he has been in detention at the Munya police station for several days now. Here he's been transferred to the special police arm in the town of Boya. What's your reaction to this other action qualified by reporters, journalists in the country as another attempt to muzzle the press?
So, this is the problem when you behave badly. When you are a state such as the state of Cameroon, the current state of Cameroon, and the BR regime, when you yourself do not respect the law, when you have been arresting people without reason, when you have been putting people behind bars without reason, without respecting the process of the law, then whenever you arrest somebody, we are suspicious, because we have seen you before arrest people for no reason. So now when you arrest somebody, our first position is suspicion. And on top of that, when you arrest a journalist, because in every country, because of the fundamental freedom, because when we say journalists, some people do not understand. Journalists protect a fundamental freedom which is guaranteed to us in our constitution, which is the right to information, the right to be informed. Now, when you are a threatening journalist, we have a long list of journalists who have been threatened by this regime. There are currently journalists in prison held there by this regime. So when you go now arresting a journalist, we become immediately suspicious. It becomes very difficult for us to be objective and to say, oh, but what did he do, and so on, because you have a track record of being somebody who arrests journalists for doing their job. So I would say that, as has been done in the past, the community of journalists needs to stand up to see into this case and to make sure that we do not have again another case of intimidation and muzzling of the press.
Journalists have been calling for his immediate and unconditional release. Now we are some few weeks to back to school, and there have been campaigns. Everybody, or not everybody anyway, campaigning for back to school. Authorities, some civil society leaders, and even some journalists and so on. Are you also campaigning for back to school?
So we got very, very embarrassed, because it is very normal for civil society, journalists, and the population to campaign for back to school. And we would have willingly joined that campaign. The problem came for us when we saw government campaigning for back to school. Government cannot be carrying out a campaign, going to parents, going around the place and saying people should go back to school. No. Government's job is to carry out the actions which can enable children to go back to school.
To create the enabling environment.
To create the environment. They cannot be coming. They are campaigning to whom? Who should carry out the actions? Government, according to us at the CPP, one, school will be very difficult without ceasefire. We need a ceasefire. So government's job is to carry out the actions. That means move towards the separatists. Move towards the separatists and begin negotiation for a ceasefire. That is their number one job. Number two, this crisis started because government left the teachers' unions at the table, arrested their leaders, and created a crisis. If government is serious about back to school, go back to the table with the teachers' unions. They had a number of requests, one of which was the education forum, within that education forum is the bulk of what the teachers were complaining about, which has not yet been addressed in all of these 3 years. So go back to the table to discuss with these teachers. On top of what was already on the table is another very key question which can only be discussed with those teachers. How do we reinsert these children back into school? Some of them have been out of school for 3 years. Others have been out for 1.5 years. Others have been out for 2 years, and so on. There must be a process which is agreed upon as to how these children are going to be inserted back into school.
Right.
Only the government and the teachers can discuss that together. And finally, Mr. Babila, is that we all know that schools have been burned down, that schools have been destroyed in many parts of the Northwest and Southwest region. A very good gesture by government would have been for us to see some of those schools being rehabilitated. Then we will know that government is carrying out actions for back to school, not singing on the television. This doesn't make any sense to us.
Okay, the case between Sisiku Ayuk Tabe and other detainees of the Anglophone crisis, notably the leaders and the state of Cameroon, has been postponed on several occasions, and it is being postponed again and again and again. And now the leaders are on hunger strike, demanding for more evidence concerning some of the detainees who were taken out of prison to where they don't know up to now. Some of them were identified yesterday, and until now, some are still not accounted for.
Yes. You know, Mr. Babila, we have said this over and over again. Not just from the beginning of this crisis, we started crying out about this at the time of the fight against Boko Haram. Because in recent times, that is when this mass arrest, illegal and arbitrary arrests began. With the Boko Haram crisis, it continued with the Anglophone crisis, and it has continued with the electoral crisis with CRM and its allies. It is unacceptable. It is unacceptable for a state, a government, to have one of its citizens under its control, because when you have somebody is arrested, they are 100% under the control of government. It is completely unacceptable for government to have people under its control and to be unable to tell us who those people are and where they are. It is unacceptable for government to break the law by refusing access of the legal counsels to those persons. The law in Cameroon says from the moment of your arrest, you have the right to legal counsel. Anytime you are questioned under detention, you have the right to your counsel. The Minister of Communication came the other day and told us that these people are fine, they are alive, and they are well.
They are being exploited for investigation.
And he said exploited for investigation. But how this exploited, which is a horrible word, but it means they are being questioned, but their lawyers have been refused access. How are you questioning people without their lawyers? So the government of Cameroon, this BR regime, must stop this. You cannot hold people, we don't know where they are, and you cannot refuse them access to the lawyers. It's against the law. The state is supposed to guarantee the law.
All right. Thanks so much, Kabanwala Edith. You are the national president of the Cameroon People's Party. Thanks for coming.
Thank you. It's a pleasure. Let's be vigilant, please, and let's move into action, Cameroonians.
Thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for staying with us. Be vigilant, get into action. These are the words of Kabanwala Edith, national president of the CPP. Thanks for staying with us. Goodbye.